Hey, Minorcan Navy, I want to talk to you a little bit today about some of the history, in particular, history around World War II of the Port of Brunswick and the construction of Liberty ships that occurred here. Now, the Port of Brunswick, along with the Port of Savannah, were two of 16 locations that were chosen as part of the emergency shipbuilding program during World War II. And that was made a declaration by Franklin Roosevelt. And these shipyards were tasked with building the supply vessels that helped the war effort. They moved personnel as well as equipment and materials to the war front. The Port of Brunswick built 99 ships during the war effort, and a good bit of those were actually Liberty ships. The 85 of those 99 were Liberty ships. I'm not sure what the other handful were that were constructed, but these ships kind of put Brunswick on the map, because up at that time Brunswick was just a little sleepy town, and with the announcement that the J.A. Jones Shipbuilding Company was coming to Port of Brunswick, the population exploded there. Well, here as we see the Sidney Lanier Bridge, the remnants of the shipyard are still visible here in Brunswick. Now, they are part of a development that was started that's actually called Liberty Harbor, but here are the spillways where these ships were constructed and then slid down into the river. From here they would be floated just a short distance around into the basin where they'd be outfitted. But you can see as we fly the drone over that these structures still here, as they were put in place to have those ships constructed on them. Now, at the time, this whole end of the south end of Brunswick would have been bustling with cranes and all kinds of different equipment necessary for the shipbuilding effort that was taking place during World War II. You can imagine that the marsh has kind of creeped back here, kind of taken over this area again. But at the time, this would have been a work area where the construction personnel for the J. Jones Company would have been actively building these ships. During the month of December in 1944, the shipyard here in Brunswick launched 7 of these Liberty ships down these railways. It was a monumental effort to make that happen, but they did. And as they were constructed, they'd be floated here into this basin where they would be outfitted. And this basin is still visible today. Of course, it's kind of silted in. You can see it's kind of overgrown, but the area where all that took place is still here. Just changed a little bit with time. You can imagine during those 40s, this whole left side of this basin was just jam-packed with workshops and supply places and equipment necessary to get the job done. The ships themselves were a little over 440 feet long. They were steam powered. Top speed on these ships was roughly 12 knots, and they began the task of pushing equipment, personnel, whatever necessary for the war effort, mainly to Europe. But I'm sure that some may have found their way into the Pacific theater as well. We can see some of the facilities, docking areas that are still visible coming into the Port of Brunswick. Now, there are a couple models that are still visible of these Liberty ships, one in the Port of Brunswick, one in Savannah. This is a placard here in the Port of Brunswick, and this is the model that is visible today. This is in the Mary Ross Waterfront Park in the city of Brunswick, right at the port. a model of what was constructed here. And then there's also another model in Georgia that is up in Savannah. That model is the General James Oglethorpe, or the James Oglethorpe, and it's there along River Street. Captain Bobby was on a trip up to Savannah, and he got some shots of that for us. I'd certainly like to thank him for his effort in sending those pictures of that model. But just a reminder of what really took place and what really sparked the Port of Brunswick. The war effort started, and it did the same for Savannah. It really kind of was the catalyst that started the whole port effort and the modernization of these two facilities here in Georgia for the construction of the Liberty ships. Well, hey, that's going to do it for the report today. I'd like to thank you guys for sticking with us. We're going to ask if you haven't done it yet, click on that subscribe button, send us some comments, but most of all, we want you guys to stay safe out there.